Well, welcome everyone. My name is Claudia Lee Tang, and thank you for coming and joining us. So if you are here for the computer science and physical math sciences timetable session, you're in the right place. We might be having a few more students come in to join us. So, but if you could maybe move a little or move so that they can come in, that'd be great. Is the door locked? Okay. All right. Okay. So in this second session, if you can bring your handout sheet and then turn to the second page, that would be good. Actually, no, before you do that, I wanted to see if you had jotted down the programs that you're interested in, and you could tell me what your first year requirement courses are. Does anyone know? Okay. Does anyone want to venture and answer this question? Yes?
Okay, so for computer science, you need CSC 148 and 165. Then you can take math, either a combo of 135 and 136, or just 137.
Oh, 137Y, yes, is the full year course. Do you know what marks you're required to do? Do you get?
It depends on the year. So
yeah, it depends on the year. So last year, I would say the average. Okay, so the course that they look at for computer science specifically is CSE 148 and 165, and the combined it's about 83.
Is that for out of stream? Is that for out of stream or for in stream students?
For everyone. Yes. It's quite competitive. Yes.
on the website it says different.
It's okay. So they may have it for next year, but I'm just saying this year, that was the cutoff.
Is it going to get higher?
I don't think so. Okay. It's hard for me to say because these are figures that are done after the fact.
Okay.
But they are aware how competitive it is, and so also they are doing making some changes, and so that's why they may have the difference in the in-stream and the out-stream. But generally speaking, that's what it might be. But some of you also may not have the prior programming affinity, I guess, or like you may not have the background. You may have to start with 108, right? So that's so in this session, yes.
It'd be better to take 108, like a CSC 108, even if you have programming experience, just to get a 4.0.
That's a good question. Can I defer that to later when I present the variance, and then they will help you. Well, we'll have some questions which will help you decide what should be what would be best for you. Okay. So in this particular session, we're going to focus on first thing first is the steps on which and key dates. Mention some of the key dates that you need to know in order to complete your registration, like when you add courses, when you pay for courses, and all of that stuff. Okay, so you have a timeline and start getting organized to meet because the dates are coming up. Then the other part of the presentation will be looking at some of the patterns in some of the first year math and physical science programs. So you'll see that there are variants in each of the courses, and sometimes you would wonder, okay, should I take CSE 108 or not, or go straight to 148? Or in math, for example, you have the choice of doing a combination of 135, 136, and then or 137Y or 157Y. How do you decide on which one to take? So we're going to be talking a little bit about that. And also we're going to be taking a look at some of the strategies that you may use to choose your first year courses on CSC, math, and physical science. And also we're going to be showing exactly how you may want to make your timetable. What are some of the things that you may want to keep, tips here and there to when you are making your timetables and in considering making some scheduling your courses. And also important dates and completing registration, what it means. So right now, in terms of timelines, you're here, you're attending an academic orientation session, which is good because it sort of helps you orient yourself and what are the important things, where to look for information that you need in order to choose your courses. Then the next step that you're going to be doing would be to select your first year courses and make your own timetable so that you are able to and be ready to enroll in courses on July 26th. That is your first day. But prior to that, on July 20th, you can go log into Acorn and you check the start time. The start time is assigned to each of the students roughly according to your stream. So this is just so that we have a system in which not every one of you will come in at 6 o'clock in the morning and, then be jamming all the lines and nobody gets happy. Nobody is happy because they can't get through. Okay, so we do this. We assign the start time according to your stream. So just use go into that designated start time, and that will ensure that you have the optimum period to pick your courses. This is it. There are 2 rounds of enrollment, and that's why it's important that you try to get your courses as close to your start time as possible, because the enrollment period for the first round will end on July 1st. And at that point, a lot of courses that have priority for first-year students will be opened up, and it will be first come, first serve. And at that point, if you wait until then chances are you may not be able to get in some of your courses or the sections that you want. So extremely important that you try to do that in the first round, as close to July 26th as possible. The next important date is August 29th, which means you will have to at least by that time have enrolled in courses, and you can view your invoice on Acorn and then pay at least for the first installment, or at least if you are eligible for OSAP, defer your fees. That will then complete your registration, and then you won't be kicked out of your courses. Because if payment is not done then, and all the courses will later be after the 29th, and if there's no payment or deferral, what will happen is that we'll have to cancel all your courses. The faculty cancels all your courses, and then there's no guarantee you can get back. And there's going to be a $61 fee to kind of re-register. So please try to avoid that at all cost. Later in the Money Matters session, you will be able to find out more information for financial planning and things like that. So, and classes start on September 6th. So all the important dates, you can refer to the course timetable on importance date. There are special dates on the timetable that tells you when you can drop the course, when you can add, when the wait list is off. Sometimes, some of the time you may have when the priority drops, so you can add courses that you don't have priority for in the first round. But so these are all of the information will be there. So generally speaking, we have some students here that are interested in actuarial science, some of them in chemistry, geophysics. So I pretty much wrote down I'm sorry.
With the University of Toronto, 5 is more than enough to do well in. And again, don't feel if you start at 5 and if this is just too much for me, don't think that you aren't succeeding because you would like to.
Your call is being connected.
Okay, I'm calling for help because this is not supposed to happen.
Okay. And every time we say 5 courses, that's 5 full courses or the equivalent in half courses. And half courses.
Well,
Good so far? Okay. Also, try and balance them out between first term and second term. Every once in a while, we see students who.
Okay, this is not.
Like 8 half courses.
I'm so sorry.
To the second term. Still comes out to 10 half courses or 5 courses, but you can't manage it.
Help.
Starting this year, thankfully,
Your call is being connected.
from putting themselves in the courses to term. We've been trying to do that for years, but now it's in place.
Okay, so
again, try and balance it out at 5 and 5. It will just work better for you.
okay, so
Okay. A few more course basics.
I really don't know.
As you know, there's lots of options. We offer 2,000 courses, about 500 of them are first year.
Oh, I think I see
and
something
you can take
here.
Some courses, the
And
same
then-
course will offer a traditional approach to the subject matter, or another one will offer a more contemporary approach to the subject matter. So try and collect as much information as possible before you.
Yay, I muted it. Hope this works. Okay, sorry about that. Okay, going back to the patterns in the first year. So here's sort of like a sketch of like a summary of whatever the courses, the first year courses that are required for most of these physical math science programs. And as you can see, depending on the program that you choose, it might require only 2 or 3 courses at most. Most of them, so then if you're taking 5 courses, invariably you will have room to consider elective courses. Okay. Any questions so far about these? Like anyone has any questions about the required courses for their own area of interest so far? So most of them will require for sure a calculus course. So that's why when you're admitted, you have to have calculus. Then the second one, it's like physics. It's depending on what it is that you want. Sometimes you may need, depending on what it is, the linear algebra. It's a 223. Some of your programs might require you to take it in your first year because it is a prerequisite to a second year calculus. So if your program requires you to take a second year calculus, it might be advisable to actually take the Math 223 in your first year. Okay? For statistics, you also have to do stat 1. Oh, sorry, this is a typo here. It's a stat 130, not M, stat 130. Okay, so let us talk about some of the variants. As you can see, there are choices you can take even for math, and then in computer science or whatnot. So how do you decide on the variants, and why are there so many of them? So first of all, you will see variants indicated by slashes. I mean, you have options of any of those options. And the higher the number in that option, the more difficult it is. Generally speaking, that's what it means in the math and sciences. But in some other cases, if you're in the arts, sometimes the same course code, like for example, in English 101, 105, 130, they're all the same level of difficulty. It's just a slight different focus. Okay, so that doesn't mean it's more difficult, but in the sciences, typically, the higher the number it is, the more difficult, the more theoretical it gets. So that's something to keep in mind. So it's important for you to read the course descriptions. Like for example, in physics and chemistry and biology, they would offer some 100 levels or 200 levels that are really not meant for students in the field. So that's why it's also important for you to read the course description. So if you see, for example, physics 100, and you think, oh, that's my first year course. Well, that is not your course if you are in the field, because it's called the magic of physics, and it's really meant for students, non-science students to take it. Okay, so of course you are welcome to, but it's really not going to have much value for you. And that will not be a course that will be used, that can be used for to proceed in your area of interest. Okay, so that's important. Then there's also, okay, so let's talk about the math variants, because a lot of you will, that's one of the courses that you have to choose for sure. And how do you decide? So Math 135, 136 is pretty much the standard for all of it. So that's the entry standard for all purposes, generally speaking. And you have to do 135 first and 136 second. Like it has to go in that order. You cannot do the 36 and then do the 135. In chemistry, though, you can do the 136 or 135 in each, like they're not like they're not what prerequisite to one another. So you can actually choose the 136 in either term, but make sure that you're not having both in the same term. Okay, because it creates logistics for organizing the lab. So that is a pretty standard one. But for many of you, so if some of you are just, so that will be the standard, obviously. But but many of your programs, especially if you're thinking actually hardcore, like going to a specialist or a statistics major, for example, Math 137 should be maybe the main one that you may want to consider doing. It does give you a better preparation if you can handle this course. Because it does have some of the theoretical proofs and the things that makes a better preparation for you down the road. So for most of the physical sciences, this would be kind of the go-to. But if for some of you who are just doing it as a major or are in conjunction with biology and whatnot, and just the 135, 136 would suffice. Okay, Math 137, it would be the toughest one. And it's very analytical and theoretical. So if you're thinking of math in terms of numbers, in terms of alphabets instead of number, that may be the course for you. So I would encourage you maybe to talk to the math department to ask more about that. Now, invariably, sometimes you have to take a risk, right? So you will ask, why should I take the tougher one and risk that versus not getting a better mark? Right? So these are the considerations that you have to make, but sometimes the programs will also make adjustments. So if you take the Math 137, they may adjust the mark, the admission mark to slightly lower for that particular course. So the idea is to encourage you to take the risk if you want to, or at least try to do it. It really interests you. Now, there are also something that called the drop-down options for most of these courses, physical sciences. So it's something that you may want to, the departments will be letting you know, the professors will be letting you know, but halfway through the term, there will be an option sometimes to say after roughly about the first test that you do, based on the results, if you feel like it's getting difficult or you want to maybe drop down to the lower version of it, that's actually can be done. And without extra fee. So, but there's a particular deadline that you have to kind of make a decision for doing that. So it's called the drop-down options. And so that's something that you may want to keep in mind when you're taking the course and kind of assessing whether it's still the right one for you, even after you chose it. Now, for computer science, there are also variants, but it is more like a language study. So you can skip 108 if you already know how to do programming or have to learn some of the Java or other languages that they use. So if you don't have that background, it's not a problem. You can start with 108 and then take 148 in the next session. And then again, there's a typo there, but so this is from the calendar. So from the from the computer science website, you can find this information. So there's a pattern. Selected, you can select 108 and then take 148 and 165 in the second term. That's how you would choose it. But if you already are well versed, you can go ahead and take 148 and 165 in the first term, and then proceed to do the second courses. Yes.
Can you do 108 and 65?
Yes, you may. This is just a recommendation. But I think if you don't, I think maybe they are assuming that if you don't have 108, it may be a little bit theoretical because it's a mathematical expression. And using some of the computer science language, I'm not sure. This is what they recommend, but I think you can, the 165, you can do it in the first term. Yeah. But you will be doing math as well, like calculus course. Okay. Any questions about these so far? Yes.
There is a retake policy for 2 post-courses.
Yes. So if you complete them, okay, so that's a good question to ask because I think that's why it's extremely important that you sort of keep, know how well you're doing in the course. and assess how you're doing in the course, and depending on what the where you are and whether you are before the deadline to drop courses without academic penalty or not. These are things that you may want to consult with your department advisor or the registrars and decide whether, if it's not going well, the first test already, and you know you have to get an 80 in the course, chances are you probably want to retake the course right away or readjust it. And maybe you were taking 148 and maybe you want to go back and take 108, realize that you probably need that. I don't know. It really depends. It's on the person. Then you can decide to drop the course and retake it. So at least if you can drop the course, then it doesn't affect your GPA, right? And you can just retake it in the second term. But if you, let's say, getting 70s in the course, and there's a chance still that you might be able to pull it up to an 80, whatnot. Yeah, that's fine. Then that's a judgment that you have to make. And then if you do that, then it's past the deadline for you to drop the course yourself. You have basically up until the last day of the term to try to consult and see if you need a late withdrawal or not. But if, let's say, you complete the course and the course is like you realize you have to retake the course anyways, then you can retake the course as an extra. And you can only retake a course as an extra once. So you are able to retake a course that you passed once more, okay, in order to meet an admission requirement. So typically, you're not able to. The general rule is that you're not supposed to, or you're not able to retake the course that you already passed. So if you're not passing, sometimes, and you know you need it, it's actually better to drop the course and then just take it again. Because once you pass the course, you are not supposed to be able to retake the course because you already got the credit for it. Now, we only make exceptions to allow you to retake the course once as an extra if you need it to meet a certain admissions requirement. And for that, then yeah, extra courses don't count for your GPA. So because that means it doesn't replace the mark that you got previously. Okay, so that's something that you may want to keep in mind as well. Good question. Anybody else? Yes? You can take it, you can do the retake in January if the courses are still available, or in the summer, yes. Okay. All right. Any other question? Okay. I'm going to proceed. Okay. Some other variants, chemistry. I don't know anyone here interested in chemistry, but typically 35, 36 is the standard again, but 151 if you are really interested in actually doing chemistry, either major or specialist, 151 is the recommended one. Statistics, there's lots of variants. And in fact, you use statistics for everything. So which one is the right one? So typically, if you are in the field of statistics, you should be taking 237, 238 combination. But you don't take it in your first year because the first year requirement is calculus, right? So, and you should be taking stats 130 as well. So you would be taking stat 130 plus first year calculus. 137 is probably the good one, good preparation, but you can drop down if for whatever reason to the 135, 136, they will still accept it. 157, so these are the second year capstone courses that you will need to take. So that's the different ones that you, so 220 and 221, it's basically for most purposes, that's really open to also other students who are in sociology, any fields that require some stats for research purposes, right? So just any questions about this? So you can also note, you will probably notice also that 220, 221, there is only prerequisite of grade 12 math, whereas the 237 and 238, the prerequisite is actually completion of first year calculus. That's the difference. Okay, so if you are planning on to do more strenuous statistic courses, then really you should avoid taking 220, 221. even though you can take it now. Okay. And also, if some of you are thinking of doing stats with economics, then they actually won't accept 220 to 221 combination. So you have to do the Echo 220 or the higher level statistics. Okay, so that's something to keep in mind if you're planning to do stats and economics. Okay, so some of you, if I don't know, if, just in case any of you interested but don't have the calculus and want to preparation, there's a pump program you can find out from the university, math department. So they do offer pump courses, like it's basically preparation for you to do the first year calculus course if you need it. But most of you probably, by virtue of you being in this stream, you already would have met that. But I'm just saying this in case any of you who are from other streams who want to consider doing physical sciences, there's a course for you. There's also a course, Introduction to Kinematics, from Professor Jason Harlow. You may want to check this out. It's a free online course that basically helps students that don't have a very strong physics background, who may want to continue and take physics courses. Okay, so some more final thoughts on the variance. Okay, try not to take a more advanced variant unless you are sure it is what you need or are very keen and capable of doing it. So again, it's important that you talk to the departments. In the afternoon, we're going to have the math department, I think, and we're going to have Andy Dix for chemistry. Who do I have for math? Jason Seekan for mathematics, from the Department of Mathematics. So please ask them questions. They would love to hear from you or give you some advice. So please sort of make a point to go up to them and ask them. So that's one thing. And sorry. There's also usually additional information on the department's website, course timetable, and there are some drop-down options. There are actually drop-down options for math, for stats, for chemistry, for physics. So pretty much a lot of the courses might have. So, and they will be announced in class. So it's not like, yeah, but I just wanted to let you know that there are those options, and you can find out more information on the website if you need to refer to them. Okay, so choosing your first year. So this is a typical closer look at a course enrollment for a program in major in CSC. This is what you typically see on the program. You sort of click on the drop-down menu, and this comes out, and you can see this is the code, and they will tell you what the enrollment requirements are. And if you look at it, they say you need to complete 4 full credits, because that's when you attain your second year status going into second year. And these are minimum, they're considering the math, the mark that you're getting in CSC 148 and 165 or the 240. And so that's the average, and that average will be determined at the end of the year. So really, typically, it's in the spring that there will be some course enrollment that you will be asked to declare your program and request program at that time. And then you find out in June whether you get in, so that it will be in time for July next year, again, for course enrollment. And your priority for these courses will be given according to the programs that you declare. So that's something for you to consider. And then completion. So the program itself tells you right off the bat is 8 courses. You can sort of have a general idea of how you may want to space them out, right? Like if it's 8 courses to complete the program, you may take 2 or 3, 2 courses in the first year, certain courses in the second year and third year and fourth year. That's how you space them out. So that's why you have to consider the other areas of study that you're doing as well right now. And then you can decide so that you can space it out and then proceed gradually and completing all the requirements by the end of 4 years or yeah. Any questions so far? Actuarial Science is the same. They require the the math 137, so 135, 136 is not an option. And then typically if you take the higher level of 157, they would accept with a 60. And they would require you to take 2, 3 in the first. It's highly recommended that you do that in the first year or in the summer. Because it is a prerequisite for, because if you don't do that, then that means you cannot take the calculus second year in your second year. Okay. So, and this program would require one of these science courses and stats. Okay. So again, I can't emphasize this enough, but you will need to spend some time in the calendar to familiarize yourself with the programs that you want and the first year courses, review the prerequisites and exclusions, and make sure you take them in the right order. Like I mentioned to you, sometimes it doesn't matter with like chemistry, but others, the first half courses, they have to be in a certain sequence, okay? And then you can, after you've chosen the first year, depending on how many programs you are doing, you will have room for electives. And that is the part that you may want to consider, taking some of the 199 courses, maybe courses in other areas that fulfill other breadth requirements, as well as consider, okay, because especially things like computer science, actuarial science, or statistics, it's in of itself, it's a well-established discipline, obviously. So you can really focus to do a specialist in that. But most of the time, if you look closely into the program, you'll find that they have a lot of focus or different areas of concentration. Take the time to look at those different areas of concentration because they will inform you what other areas you may need to take courses to complement in the area of concentration that you choose. Okay, they're not like you don't have to complete them. It's not a requirement. Like it's not going to be like an impediment for your graduation if you don't complete the focus, for example. But generally, it's there to help you and guide you as to what courses generally will help in that, or what courses within computer science actually pertains to the area of interest. So take the time to do that for all the different suggestions and cross-discipline. That sometimes may give you some idea, oh, maybe I should consider taking economics. Or maybe I should be consider doing cognitive science. Maybe I should be considering doing statistics with psychology. Or maybe I should, all of these permutations. And every one of you is unique and you will have different liking of things. And so don't be afraid to sort of step out a little bit, try something different, because you will have an opportunity. If that ends up to be something that you really like, in your second, third, and fourth year, you can choose to concentrate. But in your first year, I would say, okay, just look at the first year courses. Don't try to jump ahead and do more than you really need to for that particular program, but leave some room to explore other areas of interest. So that's so that you can actually give yourself some choices at the end of first year and redo like a little bit of evaluation. How in depth do I want to go any given year? Like, after second year, after taking the second core courses, what have you discovered? Like, do I continue wanting to do this, or do I want to tweak it a little bit? This is an opportunity. Like every year in the spring, you'll have an opportunity to kind of evaluate how in depth you want to go, or which direction you want to go, or what kind of like program changes you want to make. Okay, so I just want to really emphasize that so that at least, okay, you're not expected to really everything's set in stone. What you want is some idea of what areas you want to do, what the first year requirements are, and then take those courses accordingly. And then after that, if you have still more questions and for example, you have something that you're really interested but not quite know where to look for it, that's what we're here for, right? So I have been working here for a long time, so I kind of know more. I'm not an expert in everything, or like, in particular disciplines per se, but I do know generally how these courses are, and I have, I can point you to at least the area that you may be interested in. Okay? Any questions so far? So many times I actually do see students and they say they pick an elective and then they realize they really love it. and then decide to, do a minor or major in that. Okay. So 109 seminars, again, they are categorized in according to the breadth requirements, and you can only do one full credit worth, and you can only take it in your first year. So you cannot go in your second year, you can't go back, and you won't be eligible to do that. So if there are any particular topics you like, they're good in the sense that, okay, first of all, there's no final exam on these courses. So they're just based on small assignments. So, and also it's a smaller class. They're capped at most 25 students. And you get a chance to work with a professor who's really genuinely like very enthusiastic in that field of study and research. And so it is designed for you to also learn how to do research. So that would be a good choice to think about. And it doesn't matter what area of discipline, so that you don't really need any prerequisite for it. So if you are interested in poetry, and maybe there's a class on poetry and physics or science, and you want to kind of explore that, then that's fine. It's a perfect way to do it and have fun with it, and who knows where it will take you. Okay, but it's important to recognize that these courses do not serve as admission requirements for any particular program. There's also the first year foundations. I don't know, some of them are open still, so if you're interested, take a look at these, and they're still open for enrollment. Let's see, now that you have selected, so this is the website which you will go in. So earlier in the session, we talked about the calendar. So all the information that you find about programs requirements, course descriptions would be in the calendar. So what's different in the course timetable is that you'll find the actual courses. So you will choose the right session, make sure you're in the right session. And for timetable listing, this is what you'll see. Okay. So if you do advanced search, you have an engine here that can show you can look for courses. So what's in the calendar, you'll find courses that all the course offering. Sometimes some of them are not offered in this given year, but the timetable gives you the information of whether the course is actually offered and when it is offered. That's why it's important that once you have a list of courses that you need to do, then you turn to the timetable and search for the courses, and then you can make your time. That's how you build your timetable. So, for example, I know I want to take math. So let's say I just put in. Oh, sorry, that's not the right. So math here. So you can search by department, or you can just, if you know the code, 135, for example. Here you can choose which section you want. Do you want it in the first term, second term, or why? If it doesn't matter, you just want to display all of them, that's fine too. Then you do search, and it will come up all the available session. And from there, you will be able to see the lecture activity section. So all courses will has to be accompanied with a lecture section. And the lecture section is tied to the time. So you can choose. Do you want to meet on Monday, 9 to 10, Wednesday? So all of these are part of the course. So that's 3 time slots a week that you have to dedicate for this. Then you have a room number. This room number will eventually be updated. Okay, so then you'll actually have a code in which you will have a map, and you will tell you where. It can be anywhere on campus. Instructor's name, availability of courses, like how many spaces, and wait list, which we'll talk more about that. If the course is full, then you may be able to add yourself to the wait list, and it will be in a queue. Okay, and let's say that you pick the course that you want, you can add it to the plan. Okay, and it's then after you add all the courses, you can click on view, it will show up. It will then indicate if you have a time conflict or not, then you may want to go back and readjust, and so on and so forth. But basically, that's what the timetable is. Sometimes you may want to use it to search courses. Let's say I want to look for a breadth requirement in category one at the 100 level, and maybe two, okay? But I want it specifically on the second term, maybe, I don't know, days of the week, because I have time on Wednesday. You can do that too. And then you do the search. So you can refine your search criteria and then go for it. So for this particular course, French 101, you can click here to look, have a brief course description, and then also tell you what the distribution the breadth requirement value is, which is, which you search for one, so that's fine. But there's also something called the timetable instructions that you have to follow. Okay, so you pay attention to that because sometimes you may have issues. In this course, you actually have to go to do a placement test online prior to enrolling in the course. Because if you already know French and they place you at a higher level, then you're not supposed to be taking French 100. Okay, so there are instructions, and there's also controls. Something that you see here, for example, German 101 is an enrollment control. You click here. What is that? It says enrollment via Acorn is not available. It's an e-course, and students must get permission to, so they have to contact the department for more information. So again, the labels, general labels are here. So priority is for courses who have priority let me see if I can find an example here. Here, for example, English 102, there's priority. Priority to who given to first year arts and science, and also Daniel, okay, faculty. So again, that's something that, so if you are first year arts and science, you'll have priority. What this means is like all those students in 4th, 3rd, and 2nd who had the earlier start time than you couldn't take this course, cannot add this until you guys have a chance to do it first. And then there's a second round of enrollment. And when does it start? August 3rd at whatever, I think it's 12 noon for first year students. So that's another very, very important date for you, especially if you wanted to take courses outside your main area of study that you do not have priority in this first round. Then you may have to mark down that day so you can go and add yourself to those courses that you didn't have priority for earlier. Yes?
Same as when some courses, if it's done, you need to contact like related departments.
Yeah, no. So the e-course, you have to contact the related department because only e-courses you cannot add yourself on Rosie or on Acorn. You have to meet some sort of criteria, and then you talk to the department, and the department enroll you into the course. And so for dropping those courses is the same thing. You cannot drop it yourself. You have to either contact the registrar's office or the department to cancel that course.
Would that have to be done before July 20th?
Yes, as soon as, yeah. So that's why you may have to pay that particular attention to the timetable instructions for that particular course. It will indicate to either, it just means that there probably is some sort of other instructions that you have to follow to add those courses. Like for example, music, there is an addition. Like if you wanted to take music ensemble option, there is an addition process, and there are specific dates that you have to show up to do the audition.
Show up at school?
Yeah, the department or whatever it is that they're asking for. Drama is the same. So so that's why there are e-courses that you have to pay attention to. Look at the timetable instructions. Okay.
Not shown here, so should we email the department to get the
Or go to the department website. It does direct you to the department website for more information. So there might be a form that you have to fill out, or you go show up. They might have some specific dates in which you have to go and do an interview, oral interview. I don't know. Like it really depends. Okay. So, but you get the gist of it, right? That's why the enrollment control is very important. That you like sometimes if you have difficulty getting into the course, check the enrollment control first. Okay, and make sure you have August 3rd like in mind if you need the course that you don't have priority for. Okay, any questions? Can we proceed? All right, so we talked about this. So it serves as a search engine. And then again, I remind you that the section code tells you whether the course is offered in the fall, winter, or Y courses throughout the year. And again here, first year priority. So this is just like an example, which I mentioned already. Now, for each of the courses, And for example, in math, you'll see that they have lots of different lecture. You make sure you choose one. And if you scroll down below it, you'll see it's something another color like purple or pink. That means you also have to add either a tutorial. So there are more tutorial sections than lecture sections, but at the very least, always, and there are instructions like physical, like for example, physics, there's a lab that you have to enroll as well. And so you choose one of them, and there are specific instructions on it. And they say that you cannot, that you actually meet every week, whereas the physical, the chemistry and the biology, they meet alternate week, and you can actually coordinate them. So you have to look at the last digit. Like, again, it's important that you read the instructions on how you can coordinate those things. It's a little bit confusing at first, but once you get a hang of it, it will make more sense to you. But there are alternating meetings for labs. And okay, and also there is specific here, all-term test is held on a Tuesday, 6 to 8, so make sure no labs are around that time that might conflict. So that's why it's important for you to at all time, always pay attention to the timetable instructions for that specific course. Okay? Any questions? So all the lectures, all the classes will have lecture sections, so that's a given. And not all of them will have labs or tutorials, but if they do show up, it's actually part of the course. It's not optional. So don't feel like, oh, I can show up or not sign up for it. No, it's actually part of the course. You are expected to attend. And in fact, most of the evaluation are taken up in those sections because they're smaller. And so there will be a TA who actually takes attendance, where in lecture section, you may not be taking attendance at that point. Okay, so now the course room number will be uploaded like pretty close to mid-July. So when you go up in your timetable, you can see what the time is and whatnot. They will give you a code of where it is. So generally at this point, I would say this is the campus. We're here. We're on the west end. This is the St. George is the partition, St. George and Queens Park will be kind of like the partition mark. You can actually schedule any course one after another. Classes during the day starts 10 minutes, officially start 10 minutes after the hour. So if you can walk in between classes, you will have 10 minutes to go from one class to another. The only thing that I would caution you is that you don't want to schedule something from the west going all the way to east, unless you're going to be super fast and ready to put on your snow shoes or whatnot, like to walk through the park, Queens Park. Okay, so that's the only thing that I would caution you. But otherwise, I think you are able to schedule one class after the other. There are generally during the day starts 10 minutes after the hour, but in the evening, so any classes that has an L5, whatever, it's an evening course that starts after 5. Those classes in the evening starts on the hour. Okay, so don't be late for that. You don't have 10 minutes to that. Evening classes starts on the hour. Okay, and all the lecture sections and practicals do not meet on the first week of class. So always show up to the lecture first, even if you have a time, like a lecture section that is on Monday, but your lecture is not until Wednesday, don't show up to the first practicum or all of those things will be, you wait for instructions on when to start, but usually they don't start in the first week. Okay, so just wanted to let you know so you don't show up to a tutorial and then you see nobody there. Okay, so timetable will be uploaded and you will be given its building code, which you can then map at that point. Okay, waitlist. So most of them do. Some of them have a waitlist. But if you don't, then you don't. But then if you do, then you will basically, the way it works is that you will be put on a queue for the waitlist. And notification will be given to you, but you should probably check your ACORN anyways to see whether you get into the course. And there is a deadline in which the waitlist will be turned off. And so the specific dates are there, you can check. But then basically after that day, there will still be a few days that you can, it's a kind of like a lottery. So if you tried really hard to get in and the waitlist is turned off and you still couldn't get into the course, and then the next day someone drops the course, and there's a space. And if you happen to be adding and looking at it, you can actually add yourself to the course. Okay, so that's for you to. So that's how the waitlist works. So the next thing, basically, again, is just making your timetable. You can use. There are many ways of doing it. You can use the timetable thing that I told you about, because when you spit out, put in all the courses, they will spit out, and you can view a timetable. But you could also do it on your own with a spreadsheet or anything that you want. So basically, I will look at the courses that I need. And this is just one way of doing it. I put list all the required, electives that I want to do and see how it fits all together. And so using if I use the timetable, I'll just add it to the plan. And then in the end, if I click view timetable plan, you are able to see what courses are in conflict in red. And then if that's the case, a word about that, again, ACON will allow you to enroll in courses that have that are conflicting in time. So it is your responsibility to make sure there is no conflict, because there is no guarantee that the prof will make any alternate plans for you to write a test if that happens to be conflicting in time. So it's important that you try to avoid those conflicts. Okay. So again, you're responsible to do that, because we do not check. And then if you view the term, you'll see that it will be in red, so you can go back and try to make adjustments or whatnot. Okay, so the tip is, number one tip is try to balance the course load. Okay, 5 per term, even though you can do up to 6, that's fine. In the first round of enrollment, you will be capped at only adding up to 5, including 2 waitlisted courses. So waitlisted courses actually counts as if you're taking those courses. So no more than 5 in the first round. On August 3rd, when the second round begins, the priority drops, you can actually add another 6. So if you're not sure and you want to grab that other extra course just in case, so that you can decide which one to drop in the first couple weeks, then you can do so in the second round to add up to 6. Okay, so it's again, it's important for you to check the prerequisites. ACORN will not check for time conflicts. Again, all of those things will be your responsibility. And there are specific dates that ACORN will not allow you to add courses. So those are off dates, because the faculty will be doing some administrative things. They will be looking at the wait list. They may adjust certain things to, add more spaces or whatnot, or open up new sections. So that's why those specific days, 2nd, 7th, and 9th of July, don't be surprised that that option doesn't work for you. Okay, so just so you know. What is the registration? Does anyone remember? So that means you have to enroll in courses and pay your fees, because when you enroll in courses, you're invited, but that's not enough. That's only half of the thing. If you need to actually pay at least the first installment or defer your fees with OSAP in order to complete your registration by August 29th. If that doesn't happen, then you could be losing and paying extra money, and also there's no guarantee you can be put back into the sections you want. Okay, so you can view your invoice on ACORN, a lot of information. So now that pretty much concludes the second sections. Which is exactly, we're on time, I think. So let me know if there's anything else. I'll be here to answer some questions, but otherwise you are welcome to just head over to enjoy your barbecue and meet other students and yes.
Where is the barbecue?
Okay, so if you go up to where we started off, you basically go back on the same side. So you don't have to cross the street this time. Just walk up to 111 St. George. That's the Innis residence.